Okay, friends, it's first of all a great honor for me to be speaking to you. And I would begin by congratulating all of you on your graduation and wish you all the success in your future career. When I was first asked to give this talk, I declined because I couldn't think of what to say. I have in fact never given a general talk before, and also I am not an inspiring speaker. And what I felt in particular that while as a scientist I can say something useful, on any other matter, whatever I say will be no better than what any person chosen at random can say. And so I felt that it will not be appropriate for me to speak on anything on which I have no special skills. But then Professor Sanghi requested me for the second time for saying a few words and suggested that I can perhaps talk about string theory, which is my subject of research, instead of giving a general talk. Unfortunately, this is not a gathering where I can perhaps talk about string theory, because first of all, it's supposed to be a general talk, and 15 minutes is not long enough to explain to you about string theory. Okay. So what I'll do is that during the last year, I have been asked various questions from various people. Okay. And I picked one particular question, okay, which I thought maybe will be of some general relevance. I'll just say a few words. Okay, my talk will be very brief. I'll just say a few words about my answer to that general question. So the question that was asked often is, what is the value of doing fundamental science to the society? Now, there are various ways of answering this question. Okay, I'll just try to pick a few. Okay. First of all, I believe that any knowledge is important. Okay, and our attempt to understand nature on a rational level is, after all, what makes us different from other animals, okay, and defines us as human beings. In fact, in a scientific research, often we are not even sure whether what we are doing is correct or not. We may be totally on the wrong path. Okay, and we have no way of knowing before getting to the result, which may take 15 to 20 years sometimes. Okay. And then we may find that we are on the wrong track. Okay, so this, in fact, makes us even more suspicious as to whether it's worth pursuing scientific research at all. Okay. However, what we know for sure is that if we don't pursue this, then we'll never discover the truth. Okay, it may happen that we'll struggle for 15 to 20 years and run into a dead end. Okay. But that's necessary so that even a small fraction of us doesn't run into the dead end and eventually discovers the truth. Okay. So for this reason, we certainly need scientific research, okay, pursued at all levels, okay, at a vigorous level, okay, even though we are not even sure about the result. Now, then we can ask that is it only an abstract scientific research that we should pursue, or whether we should also think about its value to the society. Now, here our experience shows that any knowledge, however esoteric it may be, okay, if it's correct, it eventually comes to be of some use. Okay. And as just one particular example, I can mention quantum mechanics. Okay. Quantum mechanics, when it was discovered about 100 years ago, it was thought to be an extremely esoteric subject. Only a few people understood it. And nobody believed at this stage that it will have any application to any real life phenomena. Okay. Yet we know now that most of the devices that we use in today's world, okay, are based on the principles of quantum mechanics. Okay. Without the discovery of quantum mechanics, our life today would have been very, very different from what it was 100 years ago. Or different from what it is now. Okay, and it would have probably remained at the same stage where it was 100 years ago. However, I think there is also another indirect effect of scientific inquiry. Okay, and this is what I want to focus on, and this will be the last point I want to make. Okay, and this, I believe, is of immense value to the society because it's about fostering international collaboration between people from different countries. Now, many of you probably have heard about the discovery of the Higgs boson last year. Okay, it's some particle that was discovered, and it advanced our knowledge of physics at a much, much higher level. Okay. But this wouldn't have been possible without the collaboration of a large number of people from many, many different countries. In fact, the experimental collaboration which discovered it, it was based at Geneva in a research institute called CERN, but it involved thousands of people from many, many different countries, including people from India. There are also other similar big experiments which involve people from across the globe, okay, and in fact, it's necessary to involve people from across the globe to perform these experiments. Now, I, of course, work in a slightly different aspect. It's more theoretical, and hence the collaborations are not certainly very large. Okay. But even in my field, if I look at a typical paper that appears in a day, okay, what one finds is that most of the papers that we see are based on collaboration between scientists from more than one country. And just as an example, I can mention my most recent paper, which was written in collaboration with 3 people from USA, and 2 of them, in fact, I have never met. Okay. Nevertheless, we had absolutely no problem in communicating to each other because we understand the language. Okay, it's the language of science, and that's what is universal, okay, and it cuts across the national borders. So as a scientist, we certainly feel that the world is one, and the well-being of a person thousands of miles away is as important as the well-being of a person that is next to me. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to translate this into our value to the society because we have not found an efficient way to spread the feeling across the general population, and more importantly, to the governments. And in fact, it seems that as the international scientific collaboration becomes more and more important, the restriction against it in the form of travel restrictions involving visas, etc., also become more and more severe. Now, many of you are graduating, and probably a large fraction of you will be going abroad. And many of you are probably also familiar with the kind of visa problems we have, okay, in going abroad. But the thing that you perhaps not know, okay, is that our own government is one of the worst culprits in issuing visa to foreign visitors. Okay, in fact, I know it now because we have been constantly struggling with our government in getting our international visitors to the country. But I hope that in your generation, which has grown up in the era of globalization, things will be different, and you will be the one who will make the change. With this hope, I'll stop, and I again wish you all the success in your career.